Welcome back to another episode of Christian Natural Health. Today, I'm very pleased to have Dr. David Teitelbaum with us. Dr. Teitelbaum is a veterinarian and osteopathic physician who has practiced integrative and functional medicine in Fort Worth, Texas for more than 40 years. He earned his veterinary degree from Texas A&M University in 1976 and later received his Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine from the University of North Texas Health Center in 1984. Throughout his career, Dr. Teitelbaum has focused on helping patients achieve long-term wellness through a combination of osteopathic medicine, osteopathic manipulation, acupuncture, prolotherapy injections, and lifestyle-based approaches to health. His work emphasizes restoring function and supporting the body's natural capacity for healing. Dr. Teitelbaum is the author of several books, including Optimal Brain Wellness, as well as 2 Christian books exploring faith, purpose, and spiritual growth. He continues to write and speak about lifelong health, resilience, and holistic wellness. Welcome, Dr. Teitelbaum. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, your background is actually Jewish, and then you became a believer later. Tell us that story.
Well, it's an interesting story. I was born and raised Jewish, bar mitzvah when I was age 13.
Uh-huh.
And this was in Reform Judaism, which is the branch of Judaism that's the most liberal and least strict.
Uh-huh.
So,
Okay.
I had, for some reason, God graciously had put on my heart a desire to have a personal relationship with him
Yeah.
from the time I was about 9 years old.
Nice.
So I was asking questions and nobody seemed to have the answers. But in the Judaism I grew up in, it wasn't really based on having a personal relationship with God. It was more about social culturally being Jewish and ethical behavior and those kinds of things.
Sure.
So in my quest to know more about God, I looked into Eastern religions. That actually made sense to me. And again, I'm at a very young age here. I
Mhm.
learned to do transcendental meditation, which I do not recommend. But
Yeah.
I learned how to do that when I was 14 years old.
Right.
So then I went to Texas A&M where I was becoming a veterinarian in the process. And there were a number of students there who were Christian. In fact, there were only out of the 15,000 students the year I attended, this was 71,
Mhm.
there were only about 20 Jews on campus. The rest were Christian.
Yeah.
And Campus Crusade was at its height. So I learned quickly that the 10-point buck trophy of the evangelical world was to bring in a Jew.
Gotcha.
I was somewhat targeted.
Sure.
Uh, I really didn't like it.
Yeah, I bet. At
And
least initially.
yeah, the ever-ready cards in their pocket showing me how God was on one side, I was on the other. There was a
Yeah.
chasm, and the cross was the way to get there.
Yep.
Um, but I had a friend who was a spiritual seeker. Now, by now, I was 19, so I'd been doing transcendental meditation for about 5 years and gotten very good at getting centered and quiet and focused. I had a friend who also I thought was a spiritual seeker call me from Dallas, where I grew up,
Yeah.
and said that he had become a Christian and
Uh-huh.
was openly insulting and telling him I thought he had lost his mind and been duped.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yes, but he made me promise, and out of respect to him, I said I would go to the house church where he found the Lord. And I
Uh-huh.
wasn't really sure what found the Lord even meant.
Yeah,
But
of course. It's Christianese.
yes. So another friend drove me.
Right.
And we got there and they had a Bible study, which did nothing for me.
Mm.
And then they said, would you like to stay for services? Now, this really was a house church. It was a house
Right.
in a neighborhood. And I was just getting ready to say, no, I think I've heard enough.
Mhm.
When the guy who drove me said, oh, yeah, we'd love to stay. So,
Now you're stuck.
yes.
Uh-huh.
And we went into their sanctuary or their chapel, which was just the living room of the house, separated by a curtain.
Uh-huh.
And there were a couple of candlesticks and a podium and folding chairs.
Yeah,
So I sat down, and before they even started, I felt the presence of Christ descend upon me.
that's awesome.
And that's why I like to talk about the meditation. I'd gotten very good at being quiet and still. This was completely different. There was a personality with it.
Right. Yeah.
It's my introduction to Jesus.
Yeah.
And I was fine with Jesus. I liked him.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to be one of those Christians walking around with the Bible under my arm and cards in my pocket.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I came in pretty much kicking and screaming. But Christ has always been very, very patient with me and led me along through Bible study.
Uh-huh.
And that became very formative because I became fascinated with the Jewish roots of Christianity and the
Mhm.
parallels between Judaism, the Jewish festivals, the Sabbath,
Yeah.
all of how Jesus used those in his ministry.
Right.
That's been a huge topic of study for me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Uh,
So, I've I'm wondering how your family took it when you became a believer.
yes, everybody likes to hear that.
Yeah.
Partly because it was such a liberal branch of Judaism, they couldn't argue back on the grounds of me finding a personal relationship with God.
Yeah.
They certainly didn't like the idea of me being a Christian.
Yeah.
And we went through the part where they were threatening to cut me out of the will.
Mhm.
We did that.
Yeah.
And I didn't really care because at that point I think I was already accepted into veterinary school. I think it was my first or second year. I thought,
You
I
knew
don't
you were going to be okay.
really, yeah, I'm
Sure.
going to survive.
Yeah.
But they got over it.
Right.
And
Good.
uh, over a period of time, I started dating Melinda, my wife. We've been married. It'll be 45 years next month.
Awesome.
Uh, and she was very Southern Baptist, very strong biblical knowledge.
Hmm.
So she's been really a great complement through this life.
Yeah.
And I think they wanted to not like Melinda, but
Uh-huh.
she's
It's
she
hard.
over. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I love seeing how much you're smiling as you're talking about your journey to coming to faith. So this essentially just shows how much this is still a personal, intimate relationship with you. That's beautiful. Yeah. So how would you say that Christianity impacts the way that you practice medicine? And also, side note, before you answer that, so you're a veterinarian and you're an osteopathic physician. How's that
Yeah.
work?
Well, actually, that's another God thing, another
Okay.
story. I had been a veterinarian. I was going into my third year.
Okay.
I enjoyed it.
Uh-huh.
It's fun being a veterinarian. I always like to be real clear about that. And anybody who wants to be a veterinarian, go ahead. It's fun. It's a great profession.
Yeah, yeah.
I felt called by God to go into human medicine.
Hmm.
And at first, I was going to be, there was a TV show at the time, Marcus Welby, MD,
Hmm.
and he was a family practitioner, MD. I didn't know what an osteopath was. I never heard of one.
Hmm.
But a veterinary client came in, and I was starting to tell them that I was going to go to medical school.
Hmm.
And she suggested I go see this osteopath first, who worked in a town very close by.
Hmm.
Uh, and so I called him. And when he found out I was veterinarian interested in what he did, he invited me out there.
Yeah.
He had an all osteopathic manipulation practice.
Uh-huh.
And he would put his hands on people all day long and treat them.
Yeah.
But he had bought a dental office and didn't redo the room. So they were very tiny. They were like
Ah,
operatory dental operatories. So we
sure.
were both jammed in there with the patient, the treatment table. And he would leave me in there with the patient while I went out to write on a
Hmm.
chart notes. The door would no sooner close than the patient would burst into testimony about how much he had made a difference in their lives.
Oh, wow.
I
Yeah.
love the manipulation. I love he spent 30 minutes with each patient. I love that, really.
Yeah.
They knew him, they loved him. I thought, I want to do this.
Yeah, totally.
So in that one day, I got the vision of who I wanted to be
Uh-huh.
and applied to osteopathic school and fortunately got in.
Gotcha. Okay. So you're not a practicing veterinarian anymore. You're just an
No,
osteopathic
in
physician.
fact,
Okay.
that's my huge disclaimer because people
Sure.
always want to ask me veterinary questions. I say,
Sure.
I
Yeah.
practice now
I
and
haven't done this in a while.
going on 45 years.
Right.
So that's my
Right.
disclaimer. Ask away.
Yeah. Well, and I've always heard that veterinarians have a much stronger foundation in terms of how to prevent disease than
Yeah.
do most, like, especially MD allopathic perspectives, because it's just a different kind of philosophy paradigm. And DO is a lot more holistic. At least it was at its outset. These days, it seems like it might be
Yeah.
going away from that to some degree. But okay, so that's I can see how you would have gone more in the holistic route. But back to my previous question, how do you integrate Christianity into your practice of medicine now?
Yeah. It's really in every way. It started off, my favorite Bible verse is when Jesus was asked, what is the greatest commandment?
Hmm.
And at the time of Jesus, it would be common to approach a rabbi and ask him,
Hmm.
what's the greatest commandment, or some other similar question to get a feel for where he was to see how he answered.
Hmm.
He answered not with one commandment, but two. Said the first is love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your mind, and all of your might.
Hmm.
And then he said, and the second is like unto it, love your neighbor as yourself.
Hmm.
So he's quoting Hebrew scriptures. Actually, the first is out of Deuteronomy, the second out of Leviticus.
Hmm.
So what I realized as I analyzed that passage the words with all your heart could refer to emotional, all your soul referring to your spiritual, all your mind referring to your mental, all your might referring to physical. It's a
Mhm.
holistic model
Mhm.
of health and a holistic model of treating patients, or at least looking for disease patterns or health patterns,
Mhm.
physical, mental, emotional, spiritual,
Right.
and presented right there in the Bible.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that's the formula that's the basis of how I practice.
Mhm.
Then the second part is learning to pray for the patients. When I started, some people find this hard to believe. I hope your listeners will. I was an introvert and I really didn't like people very much. This, these,
Uh-huh.
these are not desirable qualities in a healthcare provider.
Yeah, really.
Probably no.
Uh-huh.
And I realized the first 7 years of my osteopathic practice, I was actually quite content just getting better at my craft,
Hmm.
learning to be better at it.
Yeah.
But I realized about that time, oh, that if I didn't start engaging more with my patients, I'd be very limited in what I was able to accomplish.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I started praying for God to change my heart.
Hmm.
And
Nice.
there was a song popular at that time, Christian song, and one of the lines in it was, "You're all I want, you're all I ever need."
Yeah, I know that one.
So I started praying for that one. And then there was another line, "Break my heart for what breaks yours."
Yeah. Yeah.
So I started praying those two.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and then also the second commandment, love your neighbor as yourself, which I certainly did not.
Yeah.
What I realized is by opening up my heart to God, and this was a 10-year prayer process. This wasn't
Right.
overnight. Yeah,
Right.
okay, boom, there you are.
Uh-huh.
I realized I was becoming more and more loving to my patients. And what I realized, a lot of patients are real easy to love and they're very easy to
Sure.
like.
Yeah.
But there's also, as you've probably run into in your practice, some people are needy, some people are manipulative.
Uh-huh.
And then
Uh-huh.
and I'm not even talking about the sociopaths and the really nasty people out there.
Right.
So how do we love them? And what I learned is if I drop below whatever I'm feeling personality wise towards the patient,
Mm-hmm.
just a personality conflict or whatever, if I drop below that and start praying for them, it immediately goes away.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So tapping
So
into
I've
his
moved
love,
to,
his power. Yep.
yes, so
Hmm.
I've moved to praying for my patients.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that's been huge
Yeah.
as far as bonding with them, the results I get. And
Yeah.
I usually pray silently.
Uh-huh.
I'll tell, we have in our reception room a video screen that's going on, and it tells them I'll be glad to pray aloud for them if they ask. Some do. Uh,
Hmm.
and they feel it. They know something happened while
Yeah.
I'm praying for them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Love it. I'm the same. I usually pray before I go out into the waiting room and before I get every single patient, I always pray for wisdom and direction. Sometimes in the middle of the conversation, I'll be praying silently as, as they're
Mhm.
talking, but every now and then I will stop it in the middle of the conversation and say, "All right, let's just pray." Like because we need to settle here, we need wisdom, we need whatever might be appropriate in that moment. So yeah, I think we do practice pretty similarly. That's awesome. So I also wanted to talk to you about your book that's on optimal brain wellness. So is
Mhm.
this an area like preventing cognitive decline? Is this like an area of specialty for you or a unique interest or what drove you to write that book?
Yeah. Well, it's become an area of special interest. Most of my practice is musculoskeletal, so it's back pain, neck pain, headaches, things like that.
Yeah.
Um, my mother-in-law, who I love very, very much, died slowly and horribly over 10 years from Alzheimer's.
Mm, yeah.
And then a few years ago, the very prestigious medical journal Lancet put out an article that said they felt 45% of Alzheimer's worldwide could be prevented. Uh,
Mm,
there was a grouping of things that we could accomplish.
yeah.
It was a lot of them are things that I'm sure are obvious to you and your listeners, some less obvious. But
Mhm.
as I read through their list, I realized they're only mostly talking about avoiding negatives. They did talk about exercise a little bit,
Mhm.
they talked about losing weight, but they didn't talk about eating a good diet. So they didn't put in how much better would it be if you went with the positives. They just
Right. Instead of just
went,
removing the
what if we
negatives.
could eliminate the negatives?
Right.
So my belief is that probably 65% of cognitive decline, including Alzheimer's, is preventable. We're
Mm-hmm.
doing most of this to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I wrote the book. I wrote it for my patients to be a how-to guide and information guide, try and help them just avoid the horrors of having your brain deteriorate on
Yeah. So the naturopathic philosophy, and sounds
you.
like yours as well, is identify and remove obstacles to cure, give body the building blocks that it needs to heal itself. There's some more steps potentially beyond that, but as far as just those two things go, let's separate them out. Tell us a little bit about identifying and eliminating the obstacles, maybe what the Lancet article said. What are some things that are important and could theoretically be potentially preventable in that category?
Yeah. There's, I think, 14 different categories I came up with in the book.
Hmm.
So there's, first off, of course, there's diet. And I'm sure it's a huge part of your practice. It's a big
Yeah.
part of mine.
Right.
For patients who are new to all this, I start off with the Mediterranean diet, which I think is a
Mhm.
good starting point.
Sure.
I'm sure you and I both recognize everybody's an individual, so not every diet is going to be right for every person. There's
Hmm.
individual variabilities where the foundation of true osteopathic medicine is everybody's an individual, find what's right for them.
Sure.
But I start them there. Anti-inflammatory diet means primarily eliminate or at least minimize the sugars.
Hmm.
I'm not an absolutist. If you go to a wedding, by all means, and you like wedding cake, have a piece of wedding cake. If it's your birthday,
Exactly.
have a piece of birthday cake. But
Right.
overall, get it out of your diet. And to do that,
Yeah.
you really need to get it out of your house.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. Yeah.
I'm David Teitelbaum. I'm a sugarholic.
Uh-huh.
So I
Yeah.
confess.
You definitely identify with the struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So if I don't have it in the house, then I
Yeah.
simply won't eat it.
Right.
If I
Totally.
have it in the house, then sooner or later I'll crater.
Set yourself up for success for sure.
But I
Yeah.
won't get in the car and go get it. I'm not that
Right.
bad.
Yeah, yeah. Gotcha. So,
So
I mean, in
there's
general, like interjecting there a little bit, I think like my take on a lot of those various different diets, yeah, you can tailor them to the person and to what they have going on. But by and large, eat food the way that God made it, unprocessed. And you're
Mhm,
probably going to be okay in a reasonable balance of the macronutrients and in a good variety of color. And you're probably going to be all right. I mean, for most.
mhm,
And there's some tweaks, but the Mediterranean is a great place to start, absolutely. And it's just like pick. I've had people come in swearing by one diet or another, and it seems like they all work if they are whole food based. It seems like
mhm.
so that I think is really the biggest key.
Yeah, I have no argument then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so sleep is real important. That's gotten a lot of attention recently.
Yeah.
So I have sleep tips that I recommend for people to do.
Hmm.
Exercise is hugely important. I've probably looked at 200 studies now altogether of longevity. So if you just want to pick one thing that stands out among all the studies, it's always exercise rises to the top.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be exercise. Exercise has to be movement in one way or another.
Right.
And it's essential. There's just no way to get around it. If you want to age well, you've got to move. And it
Hmm.
affects everything from your breathing, your heart, to your digestive health, um,
Hmm.
and just pretty much everything.
Hmm. Gotcha. So let's dig into the sleep a little bit. What are your tips? So let's say here's one I hear all the time. Somebody's waking up at 3 in the morning, and they can't fall back asleep, or it takes them a long time, or maybe four. So that seems to be a fairly common struggle. What do you say to somebody who's having those kinds of issues?
Well, if you're waking up during the night, if that's your issue, first thing is establish routine.
Hmm.
If you're waking up, then I ask, why are you waking up? You say, well, I wake up obsessing about things I have to do the next day. Okay,
Hmm.
a real simple but very effective strategy is to write yourself a list before you go to bed each night, everything you need to do
Hmm.
the next day.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how well that works because a lot of people, once they already have that written down, then they don't wake up.
Right. They don't have to worry about it.
Um, you can also keep a pad of paper and a pen next to your bed to write down, if you do wake up and there's something feel like, oh, I've got to, I don't know, wash the car tomorrow. Let's just say, just point out, okay.
Mhm.
And so now you're laying in bed, oh, I'm going to forget to wash the car tomorrow. I'm going to forget to wash the, so write it down. And then,
Right. And then you don't have to, yeah. Mhm.
oh, kind of an aside on that I think is kind of amusing. For a while, I was getting some wonderful, beautiful spiritual messages, and they would always come about 4 in the morning.
Mhm.
And I'd wake up. And so I learned to keep a pad of paper and pen handy because I knew if I waited until I woke up, I would forget them.
Forget them. Yeah.
So I'd write them down. Sometimes it occurred to me while I was awake at 4 in the morning. I said, thank you, Father, for this, but came back, it's the only time you'll listen. That was a tip for me.
Hmm.
Uh, the other thing, if you're waking up, almost everybody has to wake up and go to the bathroom during the night if you live long enough.
Hmm.
And that's usually okay. Usually most people are able to get back and can go to sleep.
Hmm.
The going wisdom is if you can't fall back asleep within about 10 minutes, get up and go do something else, then come back and get in bed.
Right.
Just laying in the room. There are counter arguments. Some people do better if they just lie there. You say, well, the rest is better than getting up.
Sure. Yeah. Depends on the person.
Yeah,
What's going on.
exactly.
Sure. Right. Gotcha. And then so exercise. Let's say somebody is sedentary. They don't like to exercise. That's where they're at. They've heard all that stuff. They know they should. What would you say to somebody to get them going and begin a process?
Um, well, first, I think you should start with the why for the exercise.
Yeah, sure.
And for me, I actually have a why pyramid, WHY, why.
Yeah.
Uh, so at the top is the recognition I exercise. At the top is God.
Hmm.
I can't serve him and I can't do what I'm supposed to do. And I can't be who I want to be for my patients and my family if I'm not healthy. And
That's
right below that's Melinda, my wife.
one.
Want
Yeah.
to be able to be there for her, actually be attractive to her. There's that, stay slim and fit. Uh,
Hmm.
we do real well together. We go out, we travel, we do some really fun things.
Hmm.
You have to be healthy to do that.
Hmm. Yeah.
Below that is family. I have three sons. I've been surprised at how much I'm willing to role model for my children and alter my behavior so that I am a good role model for them.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, Below that is my patients and friends, and that's all sort of the same category.
Hmm.
If I want to be there for my friends and be helpful for them,
Hmm.
so I like to do that. So if
Right.
you can figure out what your why is and get that right,
Right.
that helps with the motivation.
Totally. Yeah.
For my patients who absolutely hate exercise, and there's some who do, I
Yeah.
say at a minimum, you have to buy something like a treadmill, stick it in front of a TV,
Uh-huh.
and mindlessly pedal while you're watching. That's better than
Right.
nothing. It's
Totally.
really the ideal. And
Yeah.
I like ellipticals better than treadmills just because it moves the upper body as well as the lower body at the same
Mhm.
time.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. And so we've got the foundation of food and sleep and exercise. What about some extras that you potentially, well, before I get into all of that, toxins, like what toxic exposures are associated with cognitive decline and how can people identify if they are exposed and do something about it?
Yeah. The avoiding toxins in our culture is very difficult.
Yeah, right.
The simple thing is get rid of plastic water bottles and plastic containers and
Yeah.
don't store your food in them.
Yep.
Uh, there's different rankings of plastics that I'm not going to go into now, but some
Right.
of the plastics, actually, the real hard ones aren't necessarily bad for you. It's the softer ones where they're more likely
Yeah,
to flake off into your food.
totally.
Uh, Getting rid of the no-stick pans. There are no-stick pans that are made out of just very hard metals where foods don't stick to them. You have to treat them a little bit better. You have to oil them and stuff. It's not quite as easy as
Hmm.
the no-stick, but the no-stick tend to flake and break off and get into your food.
Yeah, these are,
Um, the filters, strongly recommend water filters.
yeah, for sure.
We're blessed to live in America where you can drink out of any fountain and it won't make you sick. But to
Right.
get water there healthy, they have to add all kinds of stuff to it. And you want to get that out of there. So
Yep.
reverse osmosis system, they're not too expensive. I have one installed under my sink downstairs, and then there's a charcoal filter behind that. Charcoal filter is better than nothing, but it doesn't take out everything. It just takes out a lot.
Right.
um, HEPA air filters for
Hmm.
your home. Real important. Buy the highest grade one you can afford.
Yep.
Change it out fairly regularly. We have a bedroom air filter here at the house, and in each of my treatment rooms at the office, I have a desktop HEPA filter. And
Hmm.
actually, I bought it for background noise to block
Hmm.
out for a white noise machine.
Right.
But it's amazing how well it not only filters the air, but we have to vacuum the back of it, or we can change out the filters.
You can see how much it traps. Yeah.
It's amazing how much they suck in.
Yep. Totally. Yeah.
And finally, I'd say aerosol sprays are a big contaminant that are, if you're going to use them, use them in a well ventilated area and leave the area right after you use them.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. And so any supplements that you'd recommend, and what's your take on the hormone conversation surrounding cognition and cognitive decline?
Yeah, there's actually two different things.
Mhm.
Supplements, I did the research. I did a lot of research on supplements. There's four that I recommend for brain health. So
Okay.
I'll rattle them off fairly quickly. There is a lion's mane mushroom.
Mhm.
That one's readily available. It's very popular. You can add it to your coffee if you want. You
Mhm.
need to keep it stirred up, or the last of your coffee will taste like mud, aside from.
Right.
And then there is phosphatidylserine, which rebuilds brain tissue.
Mhm.
There is, I think it's 200 milligrams a day, but look it up.
Mhm.
Uh, there's acetylcholine. That's a neurotransmitter. It's
Mhm.
good to have that on board, and that's also 200 milligrams a day.
When you
And then
say acetylcholine, you mean phosphatidylcholine to turn into acetylcholine? Or
no, phosphatidylserine
yes.
is where the walls. That's acetylcholine, Citicoline.
Yeah,
It's also
you can take that as a supplement straight up?
yes. Mhm.
Really? I didn't know that. I thought you had to do the building blocks. Okay, interesting. Right. So, and
Yeah.
I thought that was the reason why lion's mane was beneficial as well, because the huperzine
Mhm.
A ended up contributing to acetylcholine. But okay, good.
Okay.
Sounds all right.
And then Bacopa, it's an Indian herb out of Ayurvedic medicine. It's shown good promise in research studies for
Uh-huh.
improving cognition.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So
Yeah, very cool.
I take all four of those myself.
Hmm.
And if you look around, you can find products that have all of those included to minimize the inconvenience of taking four
Too
different
many
things.
things. Yeah, absolutely. Gotcha. Good to know. Okay.
Now, the hormones,
Hmm.
we know estrogen and testosterone both are important to prevent cognitive decline.
Hmm.
And estrogen, it's a complicated subject, but I'll just say there was a very flawed study done in about 2011, I think. It
Hmm.
was the Women's Health Initiative.
Yep.
And what they said was if you take estrogen and progesterone together, it increases your risk of breast cancer.
Right.
What they found was, first off, the numbers were very small as far as numbers of cases of breast cancer relative to numbers of people in the study.
Right.
Second off, they said it was progesterone. It was not. It was Provera.
Yeah.
Provera is not um,
Bioidentical.
progesterone.
Right.
They added a molecule to it so they could patent it. Progesterone itself, you couldn't patent. It's been
Yeah.
out to.
Sure,
So it's
sure.
a medroxyprogesterone. That's Provera. And
Yeah.
then the estrogen they used was Premarin, which is pregnant male urine-derived estrogen. And there is estrogen in there, no doubt.
Mm.
But it also has 11 estrogenic-like compounds in there that are not found in women.
Right.
So if you combine those two together and you have a woman predisposed to breast cancer somewhat genetically, yes, that's a problem.
Right.
So you want to be with someone who knows what they're doing. But the idea that blanketly, which is what the medical profession for at least a decade embraced, almost 2 decades, that all hormones cause cancer, stay away from them.
Mm.
It's really damaging to women, especially once you go through menopause.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
The hot flashes and all the other nasty things that go with menopause, including cognitive decline, and probably the reason women have such a higher incidence of Alzheimer's
Hmm.
than men has
Hmm.
to do with declining estrogen levels, and it's replaceable in bioidentical fashion.
Hmm. Yeah. And so for men, would you say testosterone replacement is appropriate across the board to prevent, or are there cost benefit
Yeah,
caveats that you would throw in there?
both men start losing about 2% per year of their testosterone in their 30s.
Hmm.
So in your 40s, you're still doing okay. Your 50s, you're right. By your 60s, you notice, okay, we've lost almost 60% of our testosterone.
Right.
So it's going away by then.
Hmm.
So you can supplement it. Testosterone is good for muscle tone,
Hmm.
cognition, and general health.
Hmm.
Women actually need testosterone as well. They only need 1/10 as much as men do.
Yeah.
So, but yes, highly recommend it for men.
Gotcha. Okay. So what have I not asked you that you want to make sure you leave with our audience?
Well, I think just the that everybody can get better doing simple things.
Hmm. Totally.
Big point. And again, I'm not a purist. nor do I recommend making radical changes in your life wherever you are. Do
Mhm.
something different. If you're not in the sedentary category, if you're already exercising, unless you're, one of the 10% of the people who's exercising to an extreme already,
Mhm.
then add 15% to whatever you're doing. Not a whole lot, just a little bit.
Right.
The
Yeah.
example I use is add a glass of green tea every day, very healthy beverage
Mhm.
and very simple. And that's one of the things I did. And I thought, well, this is so easy.
Mm. Yeah.
It's not hard to make a glass of tea during the day to drink instead of something else you're going to drink.
Right.
Um, you shouldn't obviously drink sodas at all, but if you're doing that,
Try
cut
to
back.
decrease it. Yep.
Yeah, with the eye towards. So that would probably be it. Do something a little bit, and what you'll find that will give you momentum to do more.
Right. Make a small change.
After a while,
Habit stacking. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. So where can people go to learn more about you and to maybe pick up some of your books?
Well, my web site has both the books
Oh,
and learning more about me.
uh-huh.
That's www dot and then doctor spelled out dash t
Mhm.
dot com.
Awesome. So I will link to that in the show notes. And thank you so much, Dr. Teitelbaum. This has been great.
My pleasure, Lauren. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely.